Hey Ankit, good morning. Congratulations on the 710. A
Hi,
massive,
Dhananjay.
massive improvement from the first time you took the GMAT. In fact, what, about 130 odd points? How does it feel?
It feels amazing. I'm actually relieved to be finally done with the test now. It's a very brutal test, and as you said, it was a long journey, and it took me 5 attempts to get there. So yeah, I'm
Yeah,
finally glad that it's over.
your first verbal score was around what, V23, and you eventually ended up scoring like a V40, right? So
Yes.
we're going to talk a lot about your verbal section, how you managed to improve 17 points, because so many students are struggling with that same conundrum, right? How do I
Yes.
improve my verbal score? But let's go through the entire storyline. So this entire interview, it needs to be about how you've improvised across your entire journey from your first to the last attempt, because you've used e-GMAT across a
I have,
period of
yes.
one and a half years, right? So
One and a
take
half
me,
years, yes.
yeah. So take me through the entire process of the first attempt to the last.
So I'll start off in the very beginning. So I have a friend from work. His name's Karthik. He recommended e-GMAT to me when I was planning to start my GMAT preparations, and I didn't really waste time exploring other options. I liked the portal. I liked the price range it was in, and I it was in my budget. And I went ahead with it, and I uh, completely loved the entire module, the way it was structured. The portal was very nice and was really comfortable to use. I took up the subscription in September 19, but I actually properly started preparing in March 20. There was a lot happening, and I couldn't really start preparing back then. So March 20, I started preparing properly, and uh, around I completed the entire module that was available for verbal as well as quant. I did not do a lot of practice on Scholaradium. I went
Okay.
straight into the Sigma mocks, and I took up a test appointment for the 5th of September. I specifically remember that date. I took it up for the 5th of September, and I was feeling very overconfident, if I can be honest with you. I felt that, since I've done the module, I've read everything I need to read from the e-GMAT portal, so I think I'll probably do well. I went on to the Sigma mock test. I probably did three of those tests, and I scored really bad.
Hmm.
I specifically remember the third mock test that I scored. I scored a 580 on the third Sigma X mock test, and I was crushed. I felt okay. Something is just not right, but probably this is a one-off event, and I'll probably do well in the test. I
But
went on to give the official test, and I scored a 580.
but
So that tells you how representative is the Sigma X mock of your actual ability or your performance.
hmm.
So I don't really specifically remember the breakup of the 580 that I scored in the official test, but it was really bad because I cancelled the score. It was a V23, 24 something, and a Q40 or a 42. It was really
Yeah.
bad.
So let's talk about this first attempt, right? So obviously there is the accuracy of the sigma x mark that comes out from this, but here's the important piece. You did the course, you did not do scholaranium, you did not follow that three-stage learning approach, and you jumped to mocks. Now, now that you've gotten a 710, do you think that is the right approach, or is there something else that you could have done?
Absolutely, that I should have practiced a lot more. I feel a candidate who's giving a GMAT test really needs to get accustomed to the environment or accustomed to the overall structure of the test, and that comes in when you are practicing a lot of questions.
Hmm.
I think test readiness questions, I think that's something that we'll talk about, give you a lot of practice on what the actual test is going to be, and that polishes your test taking ability. So that is what I was missing out on in my first attempt.
Right. So you had the base verbal ability, but to really apply it, that was what was missing. So the cementing and the test readiness. So now let's move to the second attempt. What changed from the first to the second attempt?
So then I went back and I started thinking, what have I done wrong? And I realized that I hadn't practiced enough. And I came back. I did a few sample. I tried giving an official mock test also, and I scored something around 630, 640. So I realized
Hmm.
that I'm not something's wrong in my approach. So I went back to the e-GMAT portal. I realized that there's this entire scholaranium that I'm supposed to do and I'm supposed to practice, but I've not done a lot of it. So that is where I then started practicing more verbal questions, quant questions as well. And I think I wrote to Nava with my 580 in the
Hmm.
beginning, and Nava got back to me. He looked into my e-GMAT analytics, and he told me that you've not practiced enough questions. You need to work on your questions a lot. You need to practice a lot more, and then probably think about attempting the official test.
Got it.
So my second attempt, I had scheduled it for some time in November, the first week of November.
Okay.
And in my second attempt, I scored a 660. But before that, I was feeling very confident going into the test. I was scoring approximately 680, 690 on my official mocks. On the Sigma X mocks, also I was scoring in that range. So I was feeling confident that I'd be able to probably score a little better in my official test as well. But in my official test, I wasn't able to do that well again. I scored a 660.
So the
The
takeaway here
660,
is the takeaway here is that you may get like a 670, 680 on your marks, but when you actually go and give the test, due to test pressure, anxiety, you kind of lose on 10 or 20 points, and that's nobody's fault, right? That's very, very normal, and you need to kind of incorporate that into your learning. The second question that I have here is that in this second attempt, when you practiced on Scholarinium, was there any specific way in which you practiced, or did you do certain kinds of quizzes first, or you just randomly practiced?
I was trying to practice by sections primarily. So I was practicing, let's say, 30 SE questions, and I was practicing, let's say, 30 CR questions, and then probably practicing 5 passages. But I wasn't practicing in a test environment as how a verbal test is structured in the test. I wasn't practicing it that way. I was
Hmm.
practicing section wise, and I think that was my biggest mistake there, because I wasn't practicing a mix and match of all.
Okay. So you obviously learned a bunch from 580 to 660. Now 660 to next attempt. What did you do this time?
I again wrote back to e-GMAT with my ESR this time, and I got a video feedback of my entire ESR, the areas that I was definitely weak at. That is the first time that I think you told me that I need to start building this habit of letting go. I was wasting a lot of time on the questions that I was not answering correctly, and you also identified sections that were weak for me, and I needed to focus on. And that was uh, eye-opening for me, because I thought I'd gone through the modules really well. I was I was okay with my confident with my basics, so I shouldn't really be going back to the modules, just focusing on practicing. But then you highlighted that there are certain areas I need to relook and restudy and probably understand again. Specifically, if we talk about verbal, you mentioned modifiers, you mentioned
Yeah.
parallelism. So I specifically remember going back to those areas, taking them again, and I realized that yes, those areas were weak for me, because when I was taking them again, I was making a lot of mistakes in the practice tests, right,
Yeah.
which come right after the modules.
Hmm. So I think that's a very interesting point here. And this is a correlation between ESR analysis, which we do here, versus your course attempt. So one thing that I've noticed is that if you've messed up on your ESR subsectionally, for example, you've messed up on modifiers or parallelism. When I go back to your modules and I look at your practice quiz and application quiz scores, I'll be able to tell very, very simply, like that feedback is very clear that there is something wrong here. There is definitely something wrong here, and this guy is missing this. So tell me something. When you redid them again, when you redid these modules again, what exactly did you do?
So I started afresh. I kind of put myself in a position where I thought that I had not done these before,
Hmm.
and I redid them. I heard the entire video lecture that was there. I redid the practice questions again, looked back at my notes, and I saw there were some areas that I was missing out on. I made my notes properly. I put in the facts that were not there.
Hmm.
And after that, again, I gave the practice test, and I was doing better than I'd done the last time. But it was
Okay.
very evident that I'd not done them well the first time, because when I was doing the practice tests again, they felt completely new. So probably
Yeah.
I wasn't serious enough when I was doing them the first time. So that was very evident.
Yeah. So with something you're good at, you kind of remember it, and you're really that mental recollection. So third attempt to fourth attempt. Now, what changed there?
Yeah. So now in my third attempt, so second attempt was a 660. My third attempt again was a 690. This was just a month from my second attempt, because I was
Yeah.
working on the areas that you'd asked me to
Yeah.
focus on. I had gotten my practice test sorted out properly, and I scored a 690. So my 690 breakup was a Q49 and a V35. So I understood that my quant section was going well, but my verbal still needed improvement. I got that ESR out again. I sent it again back to you guys, and this time you had a very detailed analysis on the fact that I need to focus. There are some sections still I need to focus on, And the test readiness, you talked about test readiness test, that was later. You asked me to get to that later. uh, you also asked me to make an error log, which was which I had not done properly before. So I made an error log of all my verbal questions, and I think that was the game changer. That the error log that I made towards the end, it contained approximately 50 odd questions for sentence correction, 50 questions for CR. And right before the day I took the test for the 710, I relooked at my error log again, and that helped refresh a lot of the mistakes I was making. And I told myself, these mistakes I can't repeat again in the test. So that error log really helped a lot. And then we kept exchanging emails back and forth, and you kept guiding me throughout the way. And that resulted in a 710 in February.
Perfect. So, I mean, here's a fun fact, and this is about error logs. When you know the kind of mistakes that you're going to make, so when you give the GMAT once to the next time, it's always good to make new mistakes instead of making the same mistakes again and again, because that's just stupid. Frankly. Making a
Correct.
new mistake still makes sense because that's one area of your prep that you never even explored. For example, test readiness and not letting go of questions was something that you did not even know existed or was important. We figured that out because you fix all those areas and then you had new mistakes. So making new mistakes is actually a very very good thing. Right? So that's something that I wanted to point out. In all of this, I think let's talk a little bit about the verbal course, the SC course, CR, and RC course. Uh, what parts of the SC course, CR course, and the RC course did you like, and what worked for you? Because you eventually scored a V40, so obviously something has worked out really well.
I'll talk about them section wise. So first I'll talk about the SC section. The continued focus on the meaning based approach in SCs is what is really important. Uh, because the kind of questions that come in the official test, I'll be honest with you, there's always this one question which is going to be a googly, which is which is just there to throw you off your focus. It makes you think a lot because none of your grammatical concepts work, and then you just have the meaning of the statement that you have to rely on. So the meaning based approach that is continuously focused on during the SC course is really important. That is what I uh, learned to focus on during the test also, and that really helped me. Uh, I especially in the SC section, I especially like the fact that the lectures they use a lot of green and red coloring and a lot of arrows which point you to the modifier placement or the error or where you should be focusing when you're looking at that specific area. So that really helped me in the I find that really attractive in
Yeah,
the
that helps
SC section.
visualization, right? I mean, essentially, that's
Correct.
very, very important. Now that we are talking about visualization, let's talk about CR. What was your experience with CR?
So CR, I completely took over the strategy that was focused on in the CR as well. Uh, the fact that the CR solutions had those charts made, and which would help you visualize the question better, visualize the probable options better, and that really helped me. And in the test also, my strategy was read the question within 30 seconds, pre-think for the next 10-15 seconds at least, and while I'm pre-thinking, probably scribble down or make a simple chart out of it, or scribble down the keywords, and then pre-think. Pre-thinking is actually very important. And I'll be honest with you, I would pre-think in Hindi. So I would read the question, I would get back to my native language, I would pre-think about the question in Hindi, and then think about the probable answers that could fit with what the question is asking, and then read through the option statements very carefully. So that helped me a lot in the CR section also. But yeah, it's very essential to take some time out and pre-think your answer before you go on to read the options.
That makes sense. I think that's a very
Yeah,
valuable insight. So a lot of people usually either they do this, so they pre-think while they're reading, which is not a good thing because you need to be visualizing while they're reading, or they're pre-thinking while they're reading the options. Now, if you pre-think while reading the options, you're already biased to the answer, right? I mean, you're obviously going to choose the wrong thing. So, very, very valuable point. Pre-think before you read the answer. Very, very key. Yeah, I think these are very, very valuable insights. Anthony. Now that you've scored a 710, what's your plan after this?
I plan to start applying this year, and since it was my fifth attempt, I can't really give the test again. So I'm gonna go ahead with the 710, and I'm gonna apply to the schools that I'm thinking about applying to. I'm currently in the process of shortlisting B schools based on my career goals. And
Got it.
once I have them shortlisted, I'm going to start applying this year. I want to start applying early so that the process starts working.
Perfect. Sounds. I think that's perfect, and you can always reach out to me and Rajat for help with that, right?
Thank you so much.
Again, thank you so much for talking to us. We really, really appreciate it, and I think your journey is a testament to the fact that you never give up on yourself, on your own abilities from the first to the fifth, and that's how what really got you excited more than anything. All those beautiful things in between, but I think that is something that really works. Again, thank you so much, and we wish you all the best.
Thank you, Dhananjay. Thank you.